Hello, 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 ladies and gentlemen. If you don't know who I am, my name is Shook. I make videos for NBA, I make videos for NFL. All these videos, they get posted right here on this subreddit. It's called DF Sports. You can find my posts with my username Shook. I make updates throughout the day with all the news that comes out throughout the day. You can ask me questions about the slate. I'll always respond to you, so definitely check it out. It'll be linked down below in the comments. And if you ever need to get a hold of me privately, here are my Twitter handles. So let's let's go and do my lineups from the last 2 days. We'll go over this. We'll go over this, and we'll go over that. My lineups, because I don't think I did a video for yesterday's slate. And then if you are interested in joining my Discord, I have a link down below, or in the Reddit post where I have, in-depth content going over each slate, player pools for cash and tournaments, cores, all that good stuff. So that'll be in the Reddit post too. So this was 2 days ago. Memphis just doesn't give out lineups, and then they post a lineup. It has Tillman starting, so I swap onto Tillman because I had Roddy. Roddy was the worst play on the slate coming off the bench, so I told everyone in Discord to swap off Roddy. Of course I did. Put me onto Tillman, and he's scratched after lock. Just unbelievable stuff. This was yesterday's main slate. I mean, Halliburton, blowout. Zach LaVine, blowout. Marvin Bagley, minutes just trolled. Brandon Ingram, blowout. It was just a bad main slate yesterday. But luckily, Showdown slate was a huge salvage. I was in first here, winning $1,000 until the last 30 seconds when Brandon Ingram got I think it was a rebound or an assist after a timeout in like a 20-point game. After a timeout, he stays in the game with 2 minutes left in a 20-point game, and he gets a last-minute assist or a rebound, and it pushes me out of first for $1,000. Just once, but I nuked Showdown, so yesterday was a really good day for me. As you can see, my lineups, I just did like 1v1s, 2v2s, Jokic captain, and all of them. I was prioritizing both Aaron Gordon and MPJ. I wasn't going to get away from both of them with no Jamal Murray. Hawkins was a must for me. I can't believe 60% of the field faded. And then I kind of mix and matched Peyton Watson and Larry Nance. So, yeah, was a good day yesterday. Was a bad day the day prior. But let's go over this 14-game slate. So this is going to be a quick one, guys. Not going to go too in depth on my analysis. If I did, this video would just be 5 hours long. So I'm going to try and pump this out in like 15 to 20 minutes if I can. I know I always say this and it takes like 30 minutes, but I'll do my best this time. All right. So really good spot here for both teams. The game environment in this game looks pretty good. So I think Markkanen's a fair play at 8-7. Good rebounder, can do pretty much everything for this team. Going to play decent minutes. I think he's a fair play, but I think the main guys that I'm looking to here are going to be Jordan Clarkson at 6'2". Does have a low floor, but I mean, when he's hitting his shots at this price point, he is like 40, 45 fantasy point upside. And normally, if the game stays close, he's going to play 35 plus minutes. So I think Jordan Clarkson's still too cheap. I like him quite a bit. And then we need to monitor the injury news for Walker Kessler. If he is out, I would assume Kelly Olynyk would start at the 5. And if that is the case, he would become, in my opinion, one of the better value plays on the slate. I would like him quite a bit. Now, if Kessler is in, I'd like his ceiling, but the minutes kind of been all over the place. But when he does get the minutes, this is the type of upside he has. He's a really good point per minute player, but his minutes have not been secure this season. And so I would like him for tournaments, but floor is pretty low with his minutes right now. John Collins, I think, is safe, but on a 14-game slate, I don't know if I'm going to prioritize him. So I think the main targets for me are going to be Clarkson and then Kelly Olynyk if Walker Kessler's out. All right, on the Pacers side. So once again, good spot. I think Halliburton's a fine sped up. I think there are guys that look a little bit better in the same price range or cheaper, like a LaMelo Ball. But I'm not gonna talk you off Halliburton if you want to play him. He's just been incredible, stuffing the stat sheet. Has double upside as long as the game stays close. He's gonna play huge minutes. He's like 1.3, 1.4 fantasy points per minute right now. He's just been playing insane. So I still like Halliburton even at almost 10K. I think it's a good spot for Miles Turner at 7K. Just the only issue I have, his rotation is just hot garbage. I hate his rotation. But good defender, can get blocks, steals. I think normally we get around 30 minutes, so I like his ceiling. He's fine. Buddy Hield, Bruce, there's no way I'm going to these guys on a 13-game slate. Although Bruce is pretty safe, I think projection sites are kind of under-projecting Bruce. I think normally we get around 35 to 37 minutes for him, and he's always projected for like 31. So I think Bruce is playable, but I just don't love it on this big of a slate. I'm not really going to go to anyone else. So this game looks appealing for tournaments. So Kyle Kuzma, Jordan Poole, Tyus Jones, Daniel Gafford, I think are going to go pretty low owned tomorrow. I think it's a phenomenal spot. This game should be super fast, high scoring as well. So I like Kuzma, I like Poole quite a bit at their respective prices. I think both are a bit too cheap. Both are going to lead the way offensively. Jordan Poole's probably going to put up 20 plus shots. As long as the game stays close, which I think it would, he's probably going to play 35 minutes. Same thing with Kuzma. He's going to lead the way offensively as well. Good rebounder. He can kind of more stuff the stat sheet, has a higher floor and a similar ceiling to Poole. So I like both Kuzma and Poole for tournaments at their prices. I think I give the edge to Kuzma though. And I think Tyus Jones is pretty safe at 5-6 as well. Like I said, as long as this game does stay close, he should play over 30 minutes. He is their point guard. He is going to be handling the ball. We know he can stuff the stat sheet, so I'd like me some Tyus. I think Gafford's in a really good spot. I don't mind him at 4.9K as long as he stays out of foul trouble. He'll play around 30 minutes. He's about a fantasy point per minute guy. I like him. I don't mind him. And then I don't love much else here. Let's move on to Charlotte. So Rozier's out. I think LaMelo stands out as one of the best plays in the slate. They bumped his minutes up to 39 last game. He finally had a decent shooting game. He looked a lot better. I think he stands out as one of the best players in the slate. I absolutely love LaMelo in a phenomenal spot. And I don't even mind Gordon Hayward, PJ Washington. I think they're both solid in the mid-range. They get a pretty big bump with Rozier out. Mark Williams is playable, and we did see Brandon Miller move into the starting lineup. He was god-awful, but I think he's safe with Rozier out. We saw around 20 minutes for Maladon, playable value, but I don't think it's necessary to go there on this big of a slate. Boston, Philly, this one's going to be pretty quick, guys. I'm just going to cross off Boston. I guess if you're playing like 150 max, 20 max, if Derek White's out, I guess if you want, you could take a shot on like Al Horford, but I think he's priced right, or Drew Holiday. Who's like the good thing with the Celtics is they're going to run a really tight rotation with no Derek White. Drew Holiday is going to do a lot more, and his minutes are going to be a lot more secure as well. They probably play him around 40 minutes. So I like Drew if White's out, and then Horford would be playable. But in my one lineup, this game environment's pretty bad. Both teams are play good defensively, and both teams play pretty slow here. So I'm not going to prioritize anyone in this game in my one lineup. But if you're playing 150 max, like I said, I think Drew would be my favorite if White's out. Same thing with Philly here. Like, if you want to go to Embiid, sure. I think Maxi's priced right. Tobias Harris is overpriced. Kelly Oubre is overpriced. Anthony Melton's overpriced. There's just not much here for the Sixers. Clippers, kind of the same thing here. You have James Harden in the lineup now, so he's going to take away he's going to take away usage from everyone else. So I think, until the price points kind of adjust and resettle, the Clippers are going to be a hard team to get to in fantasy. So I'm basically just crossing off the Clips as well. And Brooklyn, there's just not much here either. I know Claxton's out, but prices have been adjusted. I mean, I guess, Cam Thomas does have a ceiling. I don't like the spot against the Clippers as well. Bridges has a ceiling. Ben Simmons is safe. Dinwiddie, fine, but there's just not much here. I think my favorite play, if I had one, would be, I don't know. Now they're all similar prices. Cam Thomas, but there's not much here. Dorian, Royce, they're priced right now, so pretty disgusting game, if you ask me. All right, on to the Spurs. So Keldon Johnson's probable. Vassell is doubtful. So I think Wemby's always in play for tournaments, but once again, not a good spot. Knicks play slow. Zach Collins, I think, is priced right for the matchup. Sochan's priced right for the matchup. I think my favorite play on this team, assuming he starts again, would be Malachi Branham, who I think is a fair value. He'll be low usage when he's out there, but he is 4.3K. He'll probably play around 30 minutes. Fair value. I know last year in these spots he would crush, but this is just a completely different team to last year. But Branham, fair value, assuming he does start. On to the Knicks, so I think it's a pretty good spot. I think Randall, Brunson, they're both interesting for tournaments. Brunson's going to play huge minutes. He's probably going to shoot a bunch. Has a decently high floor as well, as long as he doesn't shoot 2 of 12. So I think Brunson's a solid tournament play. I think Randall's a solid tournament play as well. I would expect both these guys to be pretty low owned, but it's a really good spot for them, and they're going to play huge minutes. So good rebounder, double upside as well, stuffing the stat sheet. So I don't mind both Randall or Brunson. I think they're both fine. And you guys know what I'm going to say with Mitchell Robinson. I always like him for tournaments. As long as he stays out of foul trouble, he's going to play 35 minutes. This was not the case last year. They would kind of limit him last year, so he didn't have this much potential for upside. He still had upside, but not as much as he does this year because they're actually playing him pretty big minutes as long as he stays out of foul trouble. And you get a game like he had last game where he goes for a double-double with like 4 blocks and a steal. He is this type of upside, so I always have interest in Mitchell Robinson. I like the match for him as well, so I think Mitch, interesting for tournaments. I think Gafford's probably going to get some ownership if you want to pivot right there. I think that you have one right there. You saw Josh Hart have a really big game, of course. Last game, I believe RJ Barrett. Was RJ back last game? He was, so of course he had a big game last game. And you guys, Dante had a big game with RJ back last game after it was chalk this game. Absolutely killed me. Just how DFS works, right? But no interest in these guys on this type of slate. On to Miami. So, Butler's probable. Don't love much here. I guess Butler would be my favorite, but I think everyone's priced about right. You saw Bam Adebayo have a huge game. Complete outlier. Tyler Hero, I think, is priced right. Jay Rich, no thank you. There's just not much here. I mean, Kevin Love at 4-2 is fine for value. Should play around 20 minutes. Solid point per minute. Don't mind him, but on a 13-game slate, I'm not going to prioritize it. And I'm sure better value will open up here. All right, not a great spot here for Memphis, but Tillman's still out. They saw Bismack Biyombo start at the 5. He was actually on pace for pretty big minutes. He got into massive foul trouble, so I mean, if we're going to get 30 minutes from Bismack Biyombo at 5-1, I think he's firmly in play. So I don't mind Bismack. I think Smart, Jaren, Bane, they're all fair plays. Like I said, don't love the spot, but these three are gonna lead the way offensively. Marcus Smart got into foul trouble last game, lost some minutes. Jaren didn't start at the 5. I prefer Jaren at the 5 instead of the 4, but Jaren is a guy that's probably going to be really low owned tomorrow, and I always like playing Jaren when he's pretty low owned. So if you want to go there, I don't mind it. Good defender, defensive stats, good rebounder. Should play close to 40 minutes as long as this game stays close. Memphis is so bad right now, but he'll be really low owned, and I always like playing Jaren when he's low owned. Bane, love his ceiling, but I think at almost 9K now, like, would I rather play LaMelo Ball or would I rather play Bane, right? I think I'd rather play LaMelo. And then with Roddy back to the bench, hard to go there. I'm not. You saw Aldama back. He played high teens minutes. Can't go there. Zaire, don't love the price point. So yeah, pretty unappealing team if you ask me. Phoenix. So Booker out. Bradley Beal is questionable. If Bradley Beal's in, I don't love much. If Bradley Beal's not on a limit, which I'd expect him to be, if he's not on a limit, I'd have some interest. Kevin Durant would be overpriced. Nurk overpriced. Gordon, Grayson, they'll be overpriced. So it'd be hard for me to go to anyone if Bradley Beal's in. If Bradley Beal's out, then obviously I like Kevin Durant on this slate. But look at the spend ups. Like, I'd rather play Jokic. I'd rather play LaMelo for cheaper. You possibly have LeBron without Anthony Davis. You have Giannis. So I think KD would be a really good spend up. I think I'd just prefer Jokic at a similar price point. I think I'd prefer to go down to like LaMelo, possibly LeBron with no AD, right? But if Beal's out, I mean, he's going to dominate usage, right? So it's a good spot against Chicago as well. So I'd really like Kevin Durant. And then Nurk would be playable at 6'9". Eric Gordon, Grayson, they kind of adjusted their prices, but they would be fair plays. And I wouldn't really love too much here for Phoenix. Chicago. So I think the price points are still a bit too cheap on the Chicago guys. Now, My favorite's always the cheapest, so I guess DeMar's my favorite, but they are all like $100 close in price point. So actually, I take that back. I think Levine would be my favorite now that they're all like $100 apart. But DeMar, Vooch, Levine, I think all three look pretty good. I think they're all too cheap. As long as the game's like last game, massive blowout, still played 31 minutes. Um, Vooch, we know he's double upside. Gonna stuff the stat sheet. I think it's a solid spot up against Nurk there. And then DeMar DeRozan should play around 35, 36 minutes as long as this game stays close, which I would assume it would. Also will stuff the stat sheet. So I like the main three bowls here. I think they're all solid. Kobe White has had some pretty big games back to back to back. I think he's a safe value, but priced right. And then Torrey Craig, I believe, had a pretty good game. It was 2 games ago. Don't love it. So yeah, let's move on to Cleveland. So not much here. Like, I mean, I will say there was a tournament play here that I like quite a bit. Like Jared Allen's minutes kind of went up. I know he got into early foul trouble here, but if we're gonna get 28, if they're gonna keep moving up to his minutes to like 29, 30, 31, say we get 30 minutes from Jared Allen tomorrow, he is going to be unowned. Nobody is going to play him. We know Jared Allen is well over a fantasy point per minute guy. Say we get like 30, 31, 32 minutes from him at 6,200 at zero ownership. He has the upside to nuke the slate at this price point. So I think Jared Allen is really, really interesting for tournaments. And then Garland, I think, is a little bit too cheap. Minutes haven't been great, but if we get an uptick there, I think he's fine. Obviously, has a nice forward there. I think Mitchell Mobley, they're both priced around. I'm not going to play Strus, not going to play Levert. So let's move on to OKC. So Lou Dort is questionable. We'll see what they do if he's out. Maybe Joe starts. If he does, I would like Joe for value. But with SGA back, it kind of kills everyone else. SGA himself would be my favorite play, but I think he's priced right. Giddey overpriced with SGA back. Chet, I think, is priced right now. Jalen a bit overpriced with SGA back. So there isn't really much here. We'll monitor the Lou Dort news. One of the Pels. So Cedar McCollum is oh my god, that was odd. Cedar McCollum is going to continue to be out here. Now, the thing with the Pels is, with Cedar McCollum off of the court, the Pels don't really get that big of a bump. Like, Zion is already 1.3, I want to say, with CJ off the court, and Brendan Ingram's like 1.15 with CJ off the court. So they don't get too big of a bump, but I don't know what that sample is like with Brendan Ingram at the point. They started Ingram at the point, but Zion had a triple-double, or close to a triple-double. So with CJ out, I think I'd prefer getting up to Zion, but I think both Ingram and Zion do get a little bit of a bump, and I do like both quite a bit at their price points. Jonas doesn't really get a bump, minutes all over the place. But Jordan Hawkins, I mean, he's going to play blowout. He's going to play huge minutes as long as the game stays close, as long as he doesn't get benched. So I think he stands out as one of the better value plays in the slate right now. Dyson, overpriced. Herb Jones, priced right. And you saw Matt Ryan get run. You saw Kira Lewis is back. He got some run. I think the main interests here would be Hawk, Ingram, and Zion. All right, Timberwolves. So I like Ant. I like Cat. I think, regarding price points, I think Ant looks a little bit better than Cat, but I think both are fine options. Rudy Gobert's priced right. Mike Conley's a fair value, just doesn't have a ton of upside, but safe. And then Naj Reid should get low 20s minutes, playable. Don't love it on this big of a slate. Sloma should get low 20s minutes, playable, but don't love it on this big of a slate. Yeah, let's move on to Detroit. So this is a team where we could have a lot of interest in. So Duren questionable, Ivy questionable, Burks questionable. Oh, wait. Okay, so Ivy is out. Burks is out. Duren questionable. Joe Harris. Which Joe Harris? Joe Harris out. So so Ivy, Burks, Harris all out. Big news here to monitor is Jalen Duren. So if Duren's in, then I think Thompson's fine. I think Cade's fine. Stewart would be priced right. Can't go to Bagley. Wiseman would be out of play. And I like Sasser for value, and I like Killian Hayes quite a bit. Now, if Duren is out, then, I think Detroit looks pretty good. Now, blowout risk, 100%. Not a good matchup against Milwaukee. And I'd assume this team would get some ownership. So if they are all out, then I think Arthur Thompson looks solid. I like Isaiah Stewart quite a bit. I like Killian Hayes quite a bit. I like Sasser quite a bit. Assuming Marvin Bagley starts again, which I think he would, I would really like for value. James Wiseman would be an interesting dart in tournaments. So there will be a lot to like with this Detroit team if Duran is out tomorrow. Just be careful though. Blowout risk. Not a good spot up against Milwaukee. I feel like there's probably going to be some chalk in this game. And yeah. So yeah. Really, really good spot for Giannis. I mean, if you think this game does stay competitive, you could see Giannis absolutely nuke. So I'd like Giannis for tournaments. Dame's overpriced. Brook Lopez, no. And I don't love much else here. All right, Lakers. Big news to monitor here is AD. Now, if AD's in, it's a really good spot. I like AD for tournaments. LeBron would be priced about right. D'Lo, I think, is solid at 6'6". Really good spot up against Houston. Reeves, playable. Don't love much else. Now, is Rui back? Rui is back. Okay. So I'm not going to go to Prince, not going to go to Reddish or any of those guys. Now, if AD is out, then I would assume Christian Wood starts, and if that's the case, he would stand out as one of the best players in the slate. I would like LeBron quite a bit for tournaments. I would like D'Lo. Reeves would be solid or okay. And then, I think Rui would be interesting at 3.9K. But I don't know how many minutes he would play. I would expect like high teens, maybe, assuming no limit. Maybe low 20s. We'll see. But Christian Wood, LeBron, I think would be two very solid plays. On to Houston. Once again, everyone continued. Fred VanVleet had a really bad game last game, but a really, really good spot up against the Lakers. Guards but absolutely torched the Lakers last year. Don't think that's changed this year. And they're playing huge minutes. I mean, 36 here in a blowout. 39 here in a close game. 40 in regulation here against the Spurs. Really good spot. I think Fred VanVleet looks great once again. If Anthony Davis is in on the other side of this game, I think Sengun's fine. Now, if Anthony Davis is out and they start Christian Wood, then I really like Sengun. He should just be able to feast against Christian Wood. Christian Wood is awful defensively. Jalen Green's fine. Jabari's fine. I think they're priced right now. Same with Brooks. And, yeah. All right, last set of games here, guys. 1, 2, 3. Got 3 games left here. Kind of running out of my breath here. So, Scotty Barnes at 8-9. I think he's getting to the price point where I think he's priced right, but I still like him. Going to play 40 minutes as long as the game stays close. He is their go-to guy right now. He's stuffed in his stat sheet. He's a good defender. So I like Scotty Barnes still, even at 8-9. Siakam, no. Schroeder's overpriced. I like Jakob Poeltl quite a bit. She'll play around 30 minutes as long as Precious is still out. Keep an eye on that. If Precious is out, I think we get around 30 minutes from Poeltl. Good point per minute. He is still too cheap. I like me some Poeltl quite a bit. And then OG, no thank you. Dallas, just Luka for me at the top. I think he's fair. Warriors, just Steph for me. Now we'll monitor Draymond news. If Draymond's in, it's just Steph for me at the top. If Draymond's out, then I like Chris Paul quite a bit. I would assume he moves into the starting lineup. Should play pretty big minutes as well, like around 30. Now the price point is back down to 6-8. I would like Chris Paul quite a bit, assuming he does move into the starting lineup, and then Steph would be fine. Wouldn't like much else here. Denver, so got to have interest in Denver tomorrow. So no Murray. I think Jokic is the best bet of all the slate. I think Aaron Gordon, MPJ both look solid. They're going to have to take on more usage. Reggie's priced appropriately. You saw a lot of Julian Strawther. I don't know if we'll see that much Strawther again. So don't think we need to go there on this slate. All right, last game here, guys. Portland. So got to monitor Scoot. If Scoot's in, it kind of takes everyone out of play for me. I think they're all priced right. If Scoot's out, then, you guys know what I'm going to say. I really like Brogdon. I really like Sharp. I think 8 would still be solid, even at that price point. Grant's in play. And then I wouldn't go to anyone off the bench. Sacramento. So got to keep an eye on Fox. If he is in, then it's just a bonus. If Fox for me at the top, I think would be okay tournament plays. If Fox is out, then Davion Mitchell's playable, Herter's playable, but they could always still bench him. More usage for Keegan, but he's priced right. Monk priced right. So, yeah. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for the video. Hope you guys had a good day off today, and I will talk to y'all tomorrow.